Welcome to Stampscaping 101. I'm going to take another crack at this composition that I did yesterday using glossy, doing a gloss on gloss type of application of stamped imagery and background, okay? Now this, I don't know, it's okay, but it's just not what I was going after, okay? There's not enough separation between foreground and background. All right. Now I knew it would be really slim in terms of the separation, going with a dark imagery on a dark background. But we need more separation. Okay. So this one's it's going with a gloss foreground imagery. Okay. Because I embossed and gloss, clear gloss. Okay. And it's on the glossy background, okay? So it's dark on dark, but this is a black glossy background, or a dark glossy background. It's really like a navy blue, super dark navy blue, almost black. So it's gloss and dark on dark. So here's what I want to do. I want to test out matte. So it'd be dark on dark, but gloss on matte, okay? And I think that might create quite a bit more separation and something more akin to what I'm going after in this piece, okay? So I wanted there to be like a really slim type of separation, of course, in terms of value dark on dark, okay? But it just wasn't cutting it with the there was just too much gloss, okay? It was too glary, so we need to create some sort of separation. So there's different ways you can create contrast, okay? One of the most obvious ones is value going light on dark with anything. So that's the night sky here, the light on dark right here. But the stars. Now, if I've just absolutely filled this in with a lot more stars, you'd be able to see the trees more, but I didn't want to just white it out with stars, even in a super, starry night sky, you're not going to see it just slathered in, white or something like that. I did use quite a bit of it, though, in terms of the splatter painted Dr. Martin's Bleed Proof White. But that was about as much as I wanted to go. Okay, so I'm stamping this one out first so that I can work my stars around it. Yesterday I splatter painted first and the quote went in afterwards. And I don't know. I usually don't like to have too many splatter painted dots going into my quote there, okay? Especially if there's lowercase lettering in here. You don't want a bunch of things, in addition to the eyes, dotted, okay? All right, so I want to heat that so that when I splatter paint, it won't get all over. Not when I splatter paint, but when I emboss, it won't emboss that quote. I want the quote to kind of stand out apart from the foreground as well. So the foreground we want to be really raised up, and everything else to kind of be set back in a visual sense in terms of texture. So the bleed proof white's going to be flat, and so will this quote right here. Okay, so I need to go and wash this brush off, and we'll be ready to go. All right, bleed proof white. I made this way too runny here when I was mixing it up, so I really need to make sure that I kind of get a lot of the excess out of this, okay? But here's what surprises me about the bleed proof white. Even at this really runny consistency, the splatter painting is still, or the application of it doesn't have to be splatter painting, but it's still very, very opaque. Okay, so I'm holding this up because I've made this paint too ready, and if I don't hold this up like this and splatter paint it like this, and I held it over it, I could get a big drop. So I'm kind of going in for the Milky Way. So I'm doing this kind of streak in here, like this, okay? But now I'll fill in some additional area to the outside. I'll have the, the dominant amount of trees, maybe down here at the lower area. Okay. And here's where the stamping out of the quote comes into play. Or stamping out of the quote first comes into play. I can work around it like that. Sometimes you can't control exactly where that splatter painting is going. But I'm just releasing a couple little hairs of the brush at any given time. Okay, now I'm going a little bit more extreme with my application of the paint here this time, just so we could see the trees a little bit better. Hopefully, we'll see how that goes. I can just tell by looking at this though. This is going to be a lot more of what I was going after. Because I can imagine what those trees are going to look like against that. Okay, I'm going to watch out for that. Dr. Martin's right there. I don't know why I added so much water. I should have removed some of the water. I added too much to this other bottle. Okay, so that is that. But look at that. It's a super watery amount of that paint, but the opacity is still quite apparent. See, it's one of those little, it's the tiniest of dots are still very opaque. It's just a very effective medium for what it's been created for. All right, so let's see. Let's start off with our trees. And okay, so what I always mention is pick out some kind of focal point. I'm going to go with that largest dot on the base right there. See this? There's like a larger dot right there. I just need some kind of central focal point to point all of my trees at. And I don't know if I need to heat set this. That Dr. Martin's really dries fast, and this is a matte cardstock, so it's going to absorb into the pulp of the paper much faster. But let's just do it anyway. All right. Let's use the VersaFine Clair. And again, when I point this tree, it's always going to be pointed at that vanishing point. Okay? You can choose wherever you want. Maybe one of the word stamps could be the focal point, or the vanishing point. Maybe I'll do that. Let's go with that T there, the base of the T on the forget me nots right there. I'm going to do the base of the T. Okay, so every time I do this, this little point here is going to be pointed at the base of that T. Okay, we don't need to get rulers out or anything like that. Okay, it's not going to be that crucial that you're not off by like a little. A few millimeters or something like that. But just in general, you want to kind of create a central vanishing point for these types of trees at least. Okay, you don't need to do it for all types of trees or things like bushes or something like that don't have this kind of elongated type of pointy format like pine trees do. Okay. All right. Now I'm working pretty fast here because we need to get that embossing powder on these trees. I have no idea how long I have to do these. I'm just going to go with that right there. I'm not quite sure how long this VersaFine Clair stays moist before it starts to dry a little bit. And the embossing powder won't stick. Maybe I have a lot of time. I don't know. Okay, same thing with this one. This one's kind of a leafless pine. Okay, or it is a leafless pine. And we are pointing it right at that base of the T. I'm sure I'm off by a decent amount with some of those impressions, but as long as you're hitting in the ballpark, you're going to be good. Okay, so that is that. Now let's hit it with our embossing powder. Make sure you got everything stamped out that you want, embossed. You're going to have a little bit of this residual powder on the paper here. No, I didn't do one of those kind of anti-static resists, but I don't have that. Someone was mentioning cornstarch or something like that, or was that a cornmeal? All these kind of basic types of things I don't know about. Okay, apparently there's a lot of time that you have to apply that because that absolutely stuck to everything. All right. Yeah, that's enough. That's enough trees. I was thinking, well, I don't know, maybe I can stamp another one up top. No, let's not do that. Yeah, this is all covered in. I'm going through a lot more paper these days. It's because there's a lot of, I can feel all the little tiny embossing grains on there afterwards. And if I utilize that same paper in my hands and it feels like it feels like sand all over the place. Okay, so yeah, let's get to embossing this. Just checking, make sure I have full coverage here. I'm looking right over here. It seems like there's less powder over here. That was the first impression that I did. And then this was the last of the spruce trees. So I don't know. I'm wondering if that's set up a tiny bit at least. All right, heating up the embossing gun. All right, that did it. Yeah, that is so much better. All right, so when we're embossing, I would suggest a matte paper. Now that stands out so much better. Look at that. Against that dark night sky there. Now, I guess you can go, someone told me about, there's a matte embossing powder. So I guess you can go matte on gloss. Okay, see that right there? This is kind of cool in that you hold this up at an angle and it's almost like invisible imagery, but you can see those kind of three-dimensional areas of the piece. And holding this too, I mean, people can kind of touch this like this, and it's kind of cool. It feels like the whole thing feels like plastic because this is on a gloss too. But from a visual standpoint, this is so much more effective in terms of the look. I mean, look at that. See those trees there? And the trees do stand apart, like, with that gloss, but you don't have all this other area with that same glare. So that glare on here, stands apart as the trees now only, and not the night sky. Okay, so let me format this onto a piece of card. I'm trying to figure out what I want to mat this with, but I'll figure. All right, just a little bit of a glossy, dark perimeter like that, maybe to bring out the textures of the trees. Remember, when you do these things like this, it's not only the color that you bring out certain parts of the piece, but it's something from a textural standpoint that you can bring out. So we add that gloss on there, and maybe that brings out the gloss of the trees in here. But that's the way it looks. There it is without any kind of glare on it, but this is the way it looks from in-hand standpoint if someone's looking at it. And see there, I think that works better flat like that too. I mean, it would look okay glossy too if we sprinkled some embossing powder. Maybe it would bring it apart. It would stand out from the stars, which are matte, as well as the paper like that. But I don't know. I like this card, and this is just the model though of looking at this aspect of it, the ability of doing dark glossy on flat dark, okay? So something like this would be good with like I don't know, I would go more silhouette based because you have to have something a little bit bolder to stand out against that background, but something like the Lakeside Cove large in a nighttime type of sky would be kind of cool with these things in the foreground. I mean, you can always do quotes wherever you want to. But, yeah, I don't know. I think it's an interesting card, I think. And it's just different, going dark on dark like that, just to block out some of the trees. Okay, now one of the things that I don't like about... Oh, gosh. Okay, so I went with clear on that. Maybe I need to try the black embossing. Oh, okay, that's another thing I forgot. Because, see, in here, these trees, some of those stars start to stand out. When I stamp over the top of these stars in here, it's black, okay? We can't see the stars. But then when I clear emboss, that black becomes translucent, if not transparent. I mean, those stars are really showing through that black. So maybe I need to go with black. Oh my gosh. So maybe one more test. And see if the black on black embossing will be more opaque. But I mean, it's still pretty, it's not too bad like that. We could still see the silhouettes of the trees, but we can see them even more, I think, by going black on black. So, all right, learning, testing, experimenting. Okay, I have done a second piece for this video. I didn't show you the process right there, but you get the picture on how to do that. But this has been coated in black embossing powder this time. So let's see if it goes, if it's a little bit more opaque in terms of the background showing through. I don't know. let's take a look here. Now, I know not all embossing powders are created equally, so this one right here, gosh, it's so textural. Look at that texture on it. Okay, so look at that. It's more opaque. I don't have that stars showing through, but it doesn't stand out as much, does it? So we got black on black. I have this other powder, a different brand, I think, of detailed embossing powder. So this one just, those trees don't stand out as much, though, right? From a textural standpoint, they're, I don't know, it's just different. These ones really stand out, you know, against that background. So look at these trees. Look at that. Now, I mean, these ones might be built up more, I don't know, because of that, the clear kind of aspect of it. Maybe it's more plasticky, or this is more, I don't know, I mean, it's more pigmenty. So, okay, so you can't see those trees as much. On here, a lot better. So, I don't know, clear on black is still winning out. But, you know, I'll try out some different brands, but yeah, that one's the clear winner in terms of separation. This one right here surprises me. I'm surprised it doesn't look more raised, unless I'm doing something wrong with it. But I don't know, this one was, especially this tree right here, is really coated with that powder. I don't even know what brand it is. Okay, so anyways, yeah, this one's right here, the clear winner in terms of separation, definition, but you know, a little bit translucent to transparent almost. I don't know. I think I can live with it if that's what I have to work with. I'll try out some other things. Okay, so this being said, I mean, these black trees, I mean, this is really pushing the limit, going black on black. So if this was like purple or, I don't know, what would other colors be? Green or something like that. Or if you have some of those papers that are kind of transitioned in tone, even if they're really dark, you can use, I think, the black and clear over the top of it really good, you know, fine. And if you wanted to, you can go, you know, dark blue in the background, and you can do these things like in white or something like that against that background too, you know, for a reverse type of look, you know, for a wintry type of kind of scenario. Okay, so learning all the time, trying to figure this out, trying to figure out a really great combination in that, but I think this one's going to be kind of in the mix as far as some different possibilities with embossing and dark on dark imagery, okay? Especially with that glossy raised aspect to it. All right, thanks for watching.